you serious? You're struggling with money because you chose to be a housewife, right? I was taken aback by what my brother-in-law's wife said to me. I had suspected for a while that she didn't like me, but I never imagined she thought we were financially struggling. I knew there was some misunderstanding, but I never expected this shocking revelation. I had no idea at the time. My name is Emily, a 34-year-old housewife. My husband John and I are raising our 3-year-old daughter, Sarah, in a house we inherited from my parents. They moved to a nice condo nearby, so we don't have to worry about rent or other expenses. Life is financially comfortable for us. The only issue is my brother-in-law, Kevin. He lives nearby and often drops by, usually drunk, wanting to take John out for drinks, which annoys me. He's not satisfied drinking alone after happy hours with co-workers and friends, but I wish he wouldn't drag John into it. Kevin loves to drink, and when he's not at happy hour, he drinks at home, much to his wife Jennifer's dismay. Jennifer is not very sociable. She avoids eye contact and keeps her distance at family gatherings. It would be nice if someone like my mother-in-law could mediate, but she passed away 3 years ago. And my father-in-law, Daniel, is not the type to take charge. The other relatives don't want to step up because Daniel is the eldest, so his sister Elizabeth usually takes charge. Elizabeth is proudly single and was once considered the odd one out in the family. I admire her and follow her lead at family gatherings. Jennifer seems to trust Elizabeth a bit, as she relaxes around her and listens to her advice. But when I asked Jennifer, "Could you help me out here? Are you free?" she coldly replied, "I'm busy," making me feel disliked. Then one night, Kevin showed up drunk and started making noise through the doorbell, calling for John to come out and drink. I reluctantly let him in, reminding him to be quiet because Sarah was sleeping. In the past, his noise woke Sarah up, and I had to kick both him and John out. Since then, they've been quiet when drinking at home. So I joined them in the living room after confirming Sarah was asleep. That night, Kevin was bragging about Jennifer.
"She's reserved but listens to me. She's a good daughter-in-law."
Curious about why Jennifer was cold to me, I asked Kevin, "Does Jennifer not like me? Did she say I did something?"
"No, she hasn't said anything. Oh, Jennifer has narrow eyes. You know, she said people sometimes mistake her for glaring. Maybe that's it."
Kevin had a point. Jennifer does have narrow, feline-like eyes that make her look beautiful, but I felt it wasn't just her facial expression that made me think she didn't like me. I wanted to say that, but considering Kevin might tell Jennifer, I thought it best not to press the issue. "Maybe I misunderstood. Sorry about that, Kevin." Kevin grinned.
"No worries. Jennifer often gets misunderstood like that, so I feel like I have to protect her."
Maybe it's better to think it was a misunderstanding. You can't get along with everyone, and sometimes even close relatives don't click. I decided not to worry about Jennifer. But then, on the next holiday, John and Kevin planned to go to a movie, and Jennifer and I were to join them. We left Sarah with my parents, so it felt like a break from parenting. John and Kevin paid for the movie tickets, so when Jennifer and I went to the restroom, I suggested we cover lunch. Lunch is cheaper than movie tickets. Don't you think that's fair? Jennifer frowned and glared at me. "Are you serious? You're a housewife because you're broke, right? And yet you're spending money on a day out? Do you even have the money to split the lunch bill?" I was stunned, not just by the amount she spoke, but also by her assumption that we were poor. It's true that John may not have a very high annual income, but he's not as worried about money as people say. Wait a minute, Jennifer. We're not struggling that much, I wanted to say, but Jennifer had already left the restroom. When we got out, John and Kevin were chatting happily, so it wasn't the right moment to bring up what Jennifer had said. At lunch, when it was time to pay, I forcefully said, We had the guys pay earlier, so Jennifer and I decided to split this one. Jennifer gave me a dark look, but I made her nod in agreement and paid my half. It seemed like she had planned to pay for all four of us, making me wonder just how broke she thought we were. When we got home, I consulted John. Do you know why Jennifer thinks we're poor?
What? How did that even come up?
I recounted a restroom conversation to John, who looked puzzled.
I wonder why she thinks that. I make an average salary and you have rental income that we are saving. Why would she think we're broke?
But we're saving that money for Sarah's future just in case she wants to become a doctor or something. Don't count on it. John laughed.
You're such a worrier. You brought property to get rental income because you were worried about not having a pension. Now you're worried about Sarah's tuition?
Well, I can't help but worry. I've always been a worrier. I remember showing up an hour early for a job interview only to get scolded by the interviewer. John always tells me not to worry so much, that things will work out. But I can't help it. It's just how I am. The reason I can be a stay-at-home mom without financial worries now is because I worked hard when I was young. I doubt this part of me will ever change. That's why I get anxious about my relationship with Jennifer. What if our relationship strains the bond between John and his brother Kevin? Just the thought makes me uneasy. I've been hoping to clear up any misunderstandings the next time I see Jennifer without making her angry. Then a few days later in the evening, as Sarah was watching a kids show, I decided to start making dinner. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. I checked the monitor and saw Jennifer. I was surprised. Kevin visits often, but Jennifer had never come by herself before. Jennifer, I'll open the door now. I welcomed Jennifer in, offered her a seat on the sofa, and served her some coffee. She looked around the room and said, "You live in a pretty nice house, huh?" with a displeased look on her face. It's my family home. My parents moved to a condo, so it's just the three of us now. So, no rent or mortgage? None. Jennifer suddenly looked down, trembling. Then she looked up, furious, and yelled, "So you do have an extra money? Stop pretending you're broke. Help pay for Linda's care." Sarah was startled and began to cry loudly. I immediately hugged Sarah, soothing her. It's okay. Jennifer's not mad. Don't be scared." As I comforted Sarah, she eventually calmed down and fell asleep. Jennifer also seemed to feel bad, lowering her shoulders and apologizing. Maybe she's not a bad person at heart. She mentioned something about Linda's care expenses, so she must be misunderstanding something. I told her, "Jennifer, I'd like to discuss this in detail. Can you wait here while I put Sarah to bed?" After putting Sarah to sleep, I returned to the living room. "I'm really sorry." "It's fine. But what were you saying about Linda's care expenses?" "Linda passed away 3 years ago." Jennifer looked puzzled. "What? Do you know Linda?" "No, I've never met her. Kevin told me his parents are divorced and he's taking care of Linda, who is in a nursing home. It costs $2,000 a month, so both of us are working hard to pay for it. But why should we be the only ones paying?" "So, that's why you were upset with me." Finally, I understood why Jennifer had been upset with me, and while I felt relieved, something still bothered me. Oddly, Jennifer didn't seem to resent John, who also wasn't contributing to the care costs. I wanted to know why. Jennifer provided the answer. "Kevin told me that John had asked you to contribute $1,000 a month for care costs, but you apologized to Kevin, saying you had too much debt to pay. You also told Kevin you are keeping this a secret from John, so I thought you were the only one at fault." "What? Can we get Kevin here? And Daniel too? I'll tell John to come home early." This couldn't be left unaddressed. I immediately contacted Daniel, John, and Kevin to gather everyone. Before they arrived, I dropped Sarah off at my parents' house. John came home without working overtime, and Daniel showed up looking concerned. When Kevin finally arrived, I confronted him. "Kevin, Jennifer told me you've been claiming Linda is alive and that you're paying $2,000 a month for her care? Where is that money going? Kevin turned pale and started sweating, visibly shaken. John and Daniel looked at Kevin in disbelief, but he remained silent. Jennifer told me that John had asked me to pay $1,000 to you, Kevin, and that I couldn't because I had debts which I was keeping a secret from John. What's going on? John finally spoke up.
What are you talking about? Emily doesn't have any debt. She's more financially savvy than anyone and even has income from real estate. Kevin, what's this about Mom's care costs?
Finally, Kevin began to confess.
I'm sorry. Before proposing, I found out Jennifer made more money than me. I thought about how to shift some of that money to me.
Jennifer's expression changed instantly, her face turning to one of fury. Kevin, now terrified, continued.
So I made up that Mom was alive and needed care costs. I thought if I claimed to contribute $1,000 and got Jennifer to pay the other half, our take-home pay would be about the same.
Daniel finally spoke.
I see. Whenever I brought up Linda, Kevin would change the subject. I thought he was still grieving. To use Linda's memory to scam people out of money. I didn't raise you to be this kind of person.
Daniel rarely speaks at family gatherings, so hearing him talk this much was unusual. He must be really upset. Kevin stood up, visibly frustrated.
This is ridiculous. I work the same hours as Jennifer, and our jobs aren't that different. In fact, her company is lower ranked than mine. She's even 2 years younger than me. Why is there a $1,000 difference in our monthly salaries? She's a woman. She should just keep quiet.
That's when Jennifer exploded.
What? Do you know how hard I work as a student? I was top of my class and student council president since middle school. I studied day and night to get into a top university. Didn't you say you didn't care about college exams? I have what I have now because I worked for it. Don't be jealous.
Jennifer took a deep breath, having said her piece. I also had something to say to Kevin. Using a non-existent care cost for Linda, who isn't even alive? What kind of person does that? Didn't you think this would come out eventually? Kevin was at a loss for words, so I turned my attention to Jennifer. Don't you think something was off, Jennifer? Neither John or Kevin ever talked about Linda or visited her in a nursing home. Your anger is justified. Kevin did something unforgivable. But I wish you'd question things instead of taking his words against me. Jennifer apologized.
You're right, Emily. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience.
It's okay. You're a victim too. I hope we can get along better from now on. I smiled and Jennifer returned it, seeming relieved. Then Daniel spoke, his eyes sternly fixed on Kevin.
Kevin, what you did is unforgivable. It's fraud, a criminal act. Sadly, marital income is shared property, so we can't legally punish you.
Kevin looked oddly relieved, but Daniel wasn't done.
As your father, I'll impose the punishment. First, return all the money you took from Jennifer. Then, meet all her requests as much as possible. Jennifer, if he refuses, tell me.
Kevin turned pale again, casting a pleading look at Jennifer. Jennifer thanked Daniel and then glared at Kevin.
I'll think about what to do. Be prepared.
Kevin was tearfully apologizing to Jennifer. Maybe he realized the path his life was taking. Later, I heard Kevin had to borrow money to pay Jennifer back, even after emptying his savings. The money he'd taken was mostly spent on drinking. Jennifer filed for divorce, leaving Kevin financially ruined and even canceling the lease on their apartment. Kevin sought help from John, who couldn't defend him this time and turned his back on him. Then he turned to Daniel, who advised him to go to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, living alone in a modest apartment, moved to a place they should share. But she took over managing his salary, banned happy hours and drinking, and warned him she'd kick him out if he broke the rules. Kevin now obediently does household chores as told. Since then, peace has returned to our lives. It's really quiet without Kevin around. John seems a bit lonely, but when Sarah talks to him, he looks happy. I hope he'll dote on Sarah as much as he would have on Kevin. As for me, I've reconciled with Jennifer, and we occasionally go out together. We surprisingly have a lot in common and enjoy our time. I want to cherish these peaceful days from now on.